Good morning and welcome to the fourth conversation in the series Why Christianity Needs to Awake or Die. Last week we looked at the origins of Yahweh, the Old Testament God that we find in the Hebrew Bible and in our translations. And we ended with the question, is Yahweh the God of Jesus? So, did Jesus introduce Yahweh when he was speaking about God? I believe the question is a definite no, because there are various reasons for that. Yahweh is a Canaanite deity, a god that came from the Canaanite pantheon, and it was incorporated, or he was incorporated into the Jewish faith, and then written into the Torah, which is the Jewish Bible. We saw that Yahweh was a warrior God. In Deuteronomy 3 verse 6 we read that he tells Moses, kill them, men, women and children. On the other side, we read in Matthew 19 verse 14 that Jesus says, bring the children to me. Quite a different approach than Yahweh, which ordered the killing of children. In the same sense in Exodus 21 verse 24, Leviticus 24 verse 20, and Deuteronomy 19 verse 21, we read the following, where Yahweh says, show no pity, life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot. On the other side, Jesus in Matthew 5 verses 38 to 40 says, if anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn them the other cheek also. And if anyone wants to sue you and take your shirt, hand over your coat as well. So the whole energy of Jesus and the whole approach of Jesus, or this God that Jesus introduced, is totally different from Yahweh and the energy and the spirit of Yahweh within the Old Testament where we meet him. Another important aspect of this is to know that Jesus called the God in the New Testament his Father. So he illustrated with that a very close relationship between him and this God. He goes to the length in John 14 verses 10 to 11 to say, anyone who has seen me has seen the Father. And then he goes on and say, believe me when I say that I am in the Father and the Father is in me. That is a very important introduction to us, the way that Jesus saw God and the God that he introduced to us. The word in the Hebrew language for God is Ab. In the Aramaic language, which is just a later form of Hebrew, they use the same alphabet. In the Aramaic language, Jesus used the word Abba. Not Abba, the pop group, but Abba, the Father in Aramaic language. Within the Middle East, the languages, the Semitic languages of whom Hebrew and later Aramaic is part of, has a unique way of handling the language. Every letter of the alphabet has a numeric value on the one side, and on the other side it has an inherent, deeper spiritual meaning. So if you see the letter A in English, it is just the letter A. It is maybe the first letter of the alphabet, but beyond that, there is not much we can say about the letter A. It's completely different in Semitic languages. In Hebrew and Aramaic, if you see the first letter, which is the letter Aleph, it has in itself the meaning of one, the first letter, having the numeric value of one. And inherent in it, there's a deeper meaning, which is oneness or unity. But it doesn't end there. The letter Aleph is built up by two other Hebrew letters, the Yod above and the Yod below, and it is linked in the middle with the letter Vav. Now the Yod above and the Yod below introduce us to the concept that Jesus also taught us in his prayer, the Lord's Prayer, as above, so below. So the whole idea of the Aleph letter is this unity. As it is above, so it is or will be below. And vice versa. As it is below, so it is above. That is also important to remember. This includes everything, that which is above and that which is below, and everything in between. We can thus say that the letter Aleph not only represents unity and oneness, but also represents all of life, the life force that we can find in everything. Because that is the one thing that everything has in common. It has the life force within it. The second letter which built up the word Ab is the second letter of the Hebrew alphabet, which is the Bet. Now the Bet also has its numeric value, which is the number 2. And inherently it also has a deeper and spiritual meaning. Now Bet in itself, just the letter Bet, means a house or a container or something that holds or can hold something else. It is also interesting to see that the Hebrew Bible starts, the Old Testament or the Torah of the Jewish people, the first 5 books of the Old Testament, starts with the letter Bet. It starts with the word Bereshit, which we translate in the English language in the beginning, which is really a pathetic translation if you take the letter values and the letter meanings which built up the word Bereshit into account. It tells us so much more, but later about that in a different video. Today we focus on the word Ab and the second letter Bet, which is then the beginning and the introduction into the Torah or the first 5 books or the books of the law of the Jewish people. Our Bible starts with the letter Bet. So it is kind of saying this is the container. Within this, we're going to add all the deeper meanings and all the deeper messages. It is also reflecting upon the first letter, which is the start or the beginning of everything, which includes everything as above and below. And it is as if the second letter says, so all of this is within a container which we can call the universe or compare with the universe. So this becomes really interesting if we look then at the word Ab, Abba, or Father. The word Ab, Abba, or Father means the life force that is within everything, or life force within the container. And that is a word that describes the unity or the oneness in a further aspect that says this life force is in everything. And then we understand the words of Jesus when he says in the Gospel of John, when you see me, you see the Father. Believe me when I tell you that the Father is in me and I am in the Father. It is that above, below, all within one container which the Bet brings to us. Everything is in God. Beyond God, there is nothing. And that is the God that Jesus introduced. He said, this God that I bring to you is so much more than Yahweh, the God of the Old Testament, which is this warrior God on his throne in the heavens, as the Old Testament describes it to us. And this warrior God tells his people to go out and destroy, kill children, do ethnic cleansing, hate certain people, all of that things that we've spoke about in the previous video. And if you haven't seen the previous video, please go and have a look at it so that you can be up to date with why we say, or why I say, I cannot believe that Jesus brought to us Yahweh, and that Yahweh is the Father of Jesus. It cannot be, because the whole spirit of Jesus, the whole message of Jesus, which boils down to light and love, is a total different message than what Yahweh brought, a message of war, my chosen people, just certain people belongs to him, just a certain nation belongs to him. He needed to be satisfied with sacrifices and all of that things that we read in the Old Testament. So that created a really interesting problem for Jesus. He was not popular amongst the Pharisee and the Sadducee and all the learned people of the Jewish faith in his day. And that's why they hated him so much, because he did not recognize the God of the Old Testament. And that's why they accused him of blasphemy, of saying that he himself is God and nobody else. Because now we understand it, because he brought to them a total different view about God and a total different God. And this God is the God of light, the God of love. The Gospel of John starts with God is love. We see every time that Jesus has this encounter with God, like for instance, the transfiguration on the mountain and at his baptism by John the Baptist in the River Jordan, there's always this other aspect that is there, the light that shone on Jesus, and then the voice that expressed the love. Now these are the two aspects of the God that Jesus brought, and this God is a God above. It's a God above a deity from the Canaanite pantheon like Yahweh or El. It is a God above all the ideas that people may have or may not have about a God that leads his people into war and tell them that I will deliver your enemy into your hands. It is a God that is within us, and we are within that God. Reaching this God is very important, and that we do by going inside and find that God in here. That's exactly what Jesus said. The Father is in me, and I am in the Father. So if I find the Father in me, I find God, and that God is within you. And that's the beauty of the messages of Jesus, that he taught us that God is not a far off God somewhere in the heavens, sitting on a throne, looking down upon us. And if he didn't like what he see, he just killed everybody. You know, a tooth for a tooth, an eye for an eye, a foot for a foot. No, the God of Jesus is the supreme God. We cannot understand this God. We do not have the language, the words to describe this God. It is the totally different, the God that is omnipresent, because this God is the life force within all of the container. So all of the container is the universe, and within that universe, everything that exists carries the life force, carries this God, the light and the love. We will look into detail in future into these two aspects and why it is so important, the light and the love, and how the cross links to this concept of light, and that becomes really interesting. So don't miss out on the videos that will follow on this one, so that we as Christians can awake and can start to understand the real God that we belong to, that is in me, that is in you, and we are in that God. And that is not Yahweh of the Old Testament. See you in the next video.